So testing the Helix and staging area. I have 5 trains running at the moment with some token carriages attached and a temporary loop here on the upper or the middle level actually, so that I can run trains continually up and down the Helix and into the staging area, FIFO station here. Basically I have the 5 tracks set up as a first in, first out. There's 2 trains there. One waiting to go down the Helix here. And there's one coming up the Helix. So this train has permission to go down the Helix. And this train has just come up the Helix and is waiting permission to enter the return loop. I now have my central system fully set up, which is basically one PC, the white one there, emulates central stations, your ECOSs and your lenses and Uhlenbrocks, etc. And the other PC, the black Dell, is running the PC software that actually does the operations. Now, as mentioned, I have a central station and the PC software, and all run from one screen, so I can just flip. This is the central station, which does all the actual controls. So you've got your locomotives. You've got your locomotives up here, your switches and signals down here, and the feedbacks coming in here, and this is then sent off to the PC software. And you can see then the commands going, the number of commands going backwards and forwards. So this really just does the translation work for the PC. You don't really have to use it once you've set up your locks, switches and all that sort of thing. So I can go back to the PC software and run our trains. So I have the PC software set up with a representation of the lowest level with the 6 tracks of the staging and FIFO, and I can simply select this locomotive. I know where it is, it's on track 5, so I just put it here, fill that block up, and now the system knows where the locomotive is and can send it on its way. I have 2 second level up here. Don't worry about all the yes. I haven't even built any of the upper level yet, except for this little return loop represented by block 11, which takes the trains coming up the Helix, sends them back down again. So the main thing is to watch this level. These little indicators show the sensors indicating the train is in position. And this layout is split up into blocks, each with an entry and an exit sensor, so that the system knows when a train enters and is ready to exit the block. Set up routes. I have one schedule or route, as it were, set up, which is here to staging, and that simply shows the destinations. It's a continuous loop going up and down the Helix into the staging. Staging is called a shadow station, and the shadow station basically is, if you look at the location, you can set up locations, shadow station, and you can see here the 5 tracks part of the shadow station. That means the system can send a train to any of those tracks if it's in its schedule. And so if track 1, 2 and 3 are filled up with trains, then it will switch the points to set track 4 available or track 5 available, and on it will go in that manner. And we can start a train basically by clicking on the block icon. I have to set system into auto mode. This is auto mode up here. Now the trains can run automatically. I can then select this train to go with a particular schedule, so I'll set it to staging, and it will then once it has cleared all the checks, it'll head off. So I've given the top locomotive destination of the next block, so that top locomotive, see there, has now started to run. That's block 7, and it's reached the end of the block and now requires a clear signal to go ahead. Which I've just given it, and it'll now start running on the continuous loop and head up the helix. Once it's cleared this section of track, and the next train should start. Now we see the next train starting up. And so we have a continuous loop of activity. The first train is heading up the helix. And we can see the train's being followed. Blue indicates it's just entered that particular block. And when it goes pink, as it has now, it's in that block shown by the sensor and is waiting then for clearance to continue on. There it goes into the next block, yellow. So the third train in order has now started. The first train is at the top of the helix waiting for clearance. The second train is heading up the helix. The third train has just left the staging area toward the helix. Once it's cleared, then a fourth train and the fifth train can start. And then they'll head back down the helix and then back into staging. The switches, you see this switch has been locked. It's now showing that the first train is going to enter the first. And there it is, the switch has been set. It's now entering the first track staging area. It's completed its first loop and will now wait in the staging area for its turn as the other trains enter. Again, it's a first in, first out setup. Basically what that does is give you a virtually much larger layout because the trains disappear but come out in the same order they went in, but take a lot longer to do so, as if the layout were a lot longer or as if they've gone to a particular location. Waiting for clearance. Clearance has come. You can hear the switches switching to set up its preferred track on the FIFO station. Now goes the Swiss Intercity. trains roll back at the station ready for another round.